If you're looking for a show that has formal interviews with few things you can relate to, then this show isn't for you. This is the On the Air podcast starring you, the OTAP Show. What does OTAP stand for? Well, we kind of just told you. These are informal interviews with people from all walks of life, talking about experiences you can relate to. Share in all of the laughs with real stories from real people. Find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Android users can listen on the free Podcast Republic app. Now, get ready for this week's episode. Here's the OTAP Show with your host, Corey.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Smooth Over, aka Real Ghost White.
Hey, this is Nikita, aka Jakari Star.
Yo, what's good? This is your boy Bob.
This is Kaya, aka Black Honey.
Hey folks, this is Corey, the host for Metal for Brains.
Hey girl, she's so pretty.
This is Greg, the infamous New Age Ike Turner.
Kicking it with the homie Corey, aka The Real Shitty. Now you're listening to On the Air podcast.
And you're listening to the On the Air podcast.
The On the Air podcast.
The On the Air podcast.
Starring you.
Starring you.
Starring you.
Welcome back to the OTAP Show, another episode this week. This week we have someone that you guys have actually been kind of, sort of, just a little bit blowing up my inbox about. And so we finally made it happen. Her Twitter ad is Liberian. I hope I pronounced it right. I feel like in my head I say it wrong every time, and this is the first time I've said it aloud.
It's Liberian.
So it's the accent.
Yeah, it's the French spelling and pronunciation of Liberian. So yeah, most people don't know that, but it's fine.
So you get it here first on the OTAP Show. The correct way to say it is Liberian. Did I say it right?
Liberian.
Liberian. Did
Yes.
I do it? All right, we in the game. What's going on? What's happening?
I am great. It's a wonderful sunny day in Florida, and I'm just here doing this podcast with you.
Okay. Well, like I said before the show, thanks for taking the time to do the show. Very glad and very excited to have you on the show. I want to start off with your name. So you go by E. What is E? What is, spell it for me. Just the letter E, right? No, because what is?
I mean, it's the initial of my African name and tribal name.
Okay, the reason why I said it because I wanted to make sure it was an initial, and and it wasn't like two E's or EA or EI, something like that. Okay.
Oh, no. No.
E. Okay, what does the name mean?
My tribal name, it means peace, which is funny because I've always been like a rabble rouser, but my tribal name does mean peace. Peace, still waters.
Do you think about that from time to time? Like, are you protesting that? Like, you're such a rabble rouser and your name means peace.
I think I bring a different type of peace.
Oh, okay.
That's the people who know me personally. I don't know how I could do that over the internet, but I feel like the people who know me personally, I'm usually the one people call when they need to talk or when they need advice. So I think I do live up to it.
Do people seek your time and your advice on the internet?
A lot. I had my direct messages open for like 2 months, and I still have unopened messages in there because people will message me every day, and people think I'm much older than I actually am, but I'm actually very, very young.
How old do they think you are?
They usually think I'm like between 28 and 30, which I'm getting close.
Okay.
Light speed, but
how old are you?
I'm 22. I turned 23 in May 11th. I was born in 1994. So
okay, I got you. So that's wisdom though. So a lot of times when it happens, when people do that, it's because there's a certain level of wisdom that you may be that you may be spitting. So it's like, it's a compliment. Do you take it as a compliment?
I mean, sometimes people will say it as a compliment, and sometimes they'll say it like, how Twitter is, as like shade. So It just depends on how you're saying it. But when it is a compliment, I do take it as a compliment because my mother had me when she was older, and I'm an only child. Mm-hmm. So I only ever hung around adults, specifically old women. And I guess that's why you could say I have kind of like a jaded view on certain things. But I feel like I reflect my mother and her friends and how they think, honestly.
Are you closed-minded?
I think I'm closed-minded about certain things, and I think that's how everyone is. Everyone has certain things that they kind of don't bend on, but I think as I get older, I'm a lot more flexible. Like, you can convince me this is not this is that, and I'll consider it, whereas when I was younger, it was my way or the highway. And I think that's everyone. As you grow older, you kind of learn that life isn't so straightforward, and there's a lot of twists and turns, and you just have to adjust, So growing pains, I'm going through it right now. I graduated college about a year and a half ago. So I'm, just trying to find my footing and find out what my purpose is and all that kind of stuff.
What is one thing that years ago you probably wouldn't have bended on in terms of, being persuaded or changed your thought versus something now?
This is a hard one.
Is it hard because you don't want to admit it, or is it because
it's hard because there's just so many things that I've drastically changed my point of view on.
Let's pick one.
I think relationships.
Okay, how so?
Well, being a young girl, you just kind of think, okay, the first guy I date is the first guy I'm going to marry, and everything is going to go this way, that way, this way, and that's not how it works. So I'm a lot more understanding as to the things people go through in relationships now. When I was younger, I used to condemn people who would divorce or, condemn people who would have children outside of marriage, even though I myself am a child outside of marriage. Mm-hmm. I just wanted everything to be like the whole, like a fairy tale. Boy meets girl, boy marries girl, happily ever after. And that's just not how it works out. So I think life experience, not just me, but my friends, my family has taught me, like, that's not how it works out.
Before you can come around to an idea of something being different than what you originally thought, does it have to be something that has happened to you personally before Absolutely you can kind of? Okay.
Absolutely not. And most of the topics I talk about, I've never experienced. But I've had people close to me experience them, and I have factual information that I feel backs up what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Because I'm young. Like, there's a lot of things I really don't have experience with. I'll be the first to admit that. I have not experienced a lot. I was a sheltered child, a recluse in college. So, yeah.
That's interesting. And I had this conversation the other day. I don't think you have to personally do something to necessarily have experience with. Like, for instance, I'm not a father, but I've had experience raising kids. Now, is it the same? On a lot of levels, no. But I can tell you if what you're doing probably isn't effective. You know what I mean? Like, that's obvious and that's apparent. Just because I've spent a lot of time raising some kids, and a lot of people don't know that about me. So I totally get that. Let me start here. Where are you from?
I am from Africa. My mother is from Liberia, and my father is Nigerian. But I consider myself Liberian because I have only been to Nigeria about 5 or 6 times in my life, and I was raised by my mother in Liberia. And I came to the United States for high school in 2007. So
Wow. Okay, so this is really interesting. I like this. So you still have a good memory. Like you can compare. You've lived in Africa long enough where you can compare different things between there and the United States, correct?
of course, yeah.
How hard was it for you to adjust when you got here?
Well, it was hard for me to adjust only because I was at a boarding school. So that was really hard. But other than that, because I would come visit my grandmother who lived in Minnesota prior to her passing, I would come visit her every summer, give my mom a break, see my family. And I would spend every summer in Minnesota. So I was already used to the United States and how things work. But
go ahead, I'm sorry.
But I think other than that, the biggest adjustment was living somewhere cold because I would only come in the summer. So I know what it was like. I just didn't know what winter was like. And it was really horrible for me. I would always get depressed during winter. So,
So, when you moved here and went to high school, did you go to high school in Minnesota or did you go to high school in Florida?
I went to high school in Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Okay, gotcha. How did you find Florida?
Well, when I was looking at colleges, I'm like, okay, it's either going to be California, Florida, or maybe Arizona, because I'm not going anywhere that's cold. And I have to go somewhere that's warm, and then I want to go somewhere that looks like my country.
Okay.
And so I visited Orlando. I visited Los Angeles. I visited Phoenix. And then I visited Miami, and I was like, Miami is it. I can find plantains anywhere. And I'm serious, this is how I chose my college. Like, I just did not. And plus, I wanted to go to a state school because my parents had paid so much to send me to high school. Mm-hmm. I had a scholarship, but it was still very, very expensive. So I was like, I want to go to something a little cheaper. And even though I got scholarships to go to a few private schools, none of them were in Florida. So I went ahead and chose a Florida state school in South Florida.
So let me tell you, like, if it came down between Arizona and Miami, I can tell you, I have an office in Arizona in Phoenix, and it doesn't get much hotter than Arizona. Like, it is, I don't know if you've ever been, but it is a different type of heat. Like, I tell people all the time, there's a difference between dry heat and humid heat. And in Arizona, it is definitely dry heat. Did you want to come to the United States to go to high school?
No, I did not, because I had been raised in Liberia. I had to come to the United States when Liberia had a war for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I had been raised in Liberia. And my whole family was there. And I had already been separated from my mother earlier in my life when Liberia did have that war, and I did not want to be apart from her again. Unfortunately, due to the war, Liberia just did not have the type of education that my parents wanted to give me. And I'm so glad that they made that sacrifice, because I just wouldn't be the person I am today had I not went to boarding school. As far as independence, as far as perceived intelligence, I just wouldn't be the person I am today. So I was already an American citizen. It was between the United States and the United Kingdom, and it was just much easier for me to go to school in the United States. So we just went ahead and picked a boarding school in Virginia, because that's where my legal guardian, my mother's best friend, lived. Mm-hmm. So we just picked Virginia.
I want to take it back to the war just a little bit, and forgive me because I am for not being up on my world history. What was the conflict that caused the war, and how did it personally affect you and your family?
Well, I'm not sure you know the history of Liberia, but Liberia was founded by freed African American slaves. There were already people there, but it was made a republic by freed African American slaves.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yes. So this is kind of tragic, but unfortunately, there was a lot of conflicts between the indigenous people and the freed slaves. the African Americans, they call them American Liberians, kind of treated the indigenous people like white people would treat black people in the United States.
Wow.
Weren't allowed to hold political positions. They didn't have any of the wealth in society. They had, much, like the way they lived just wasn't, there was no equality. And so, from the inception of the Republic up to like the 1970s, American Liberians had basically ruled the country, even though they were the vast minority. So starting in the late 1970s, there started to be unrest to throw over the American Liberian government and give an indigenous person the opportunity to hold political power so that they could kind of even the scale out a little bit. And because of that, of course, it was a coup d'etat, and that's never peaceful. So it kind of just spanned into like a 25-year long period of unrest. And that preceded my birth, and it went on long after my birth. So that kind of gives you an idea of, how bad it was. About 500,000 people died altogether, which is a huge chunk of our population. We only have 3 million people.
Damn.
So yeah, it was really bad, really bad.
And the war caused you to be separated from your mom one time?
Yes, well, several times, because my mother, she's a really patriotic person. She does not like America. She does not like the West, Europe. She prefers to live in Africa. In addition, our family has several businesses in the country. I will say, like, we're not rich, but
you do okay.
Yeah, we're the people that have the businesses in the country. We're the people that employ people. So she felt it would be best to stay so that she could monitor, so that they wouldn't loot her businesses, so that they wouldn't, destroy everything she'd worked for, which they still did, but she stayed anyway. My mother, at the time of the war, she had a restaurant and several plots of real estate, undeveloped. Our restaurant was destroyed. They stole most of what they could. Our home was ransacked. They stole all my baby pictures. I'm so mad about that. Like, everyone has baby pictures but me. And then my mom got thrown in jail because she went on the radio to talk against our dictator at the time. Luckily, her cousin worked in his government, so nothing worse happened to her, because that regime was known to kill people who spoke out against the government. So, there is just a lot behind my story, and I guess why people say I'm so cold a little bit, and I view everything logically as opposed to emotionally. And I think it's because of that period in my life where I was 6 years old and I didn't have a choice to cry. I didn't have a choice to be emotional. I had to be strong, not only for myself, but for my mother, because it was already so hard on her. And if she heard that her 6-year-old daughter was having a breakdown, I don't know how she would have processed that.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is. Wow. So you kind of had to, not kind of, you had to grow up really quick.
Yeah. I had to grow up really quick. That's the age where kids just, every little thing is mommy, mommy, mommy. And I just didn't have that for a long time. So I had to learn to, if there was an issue, I had to learn to fix it myself. And that's why I kind of preach self-sufficiency, because I feel like that's the best way to go about life. And that's not saying that you don't need people or you don't depend on people, but ultimately life will put you in situations where you literally have no one. And you really have to pull yourself up and be like, I'm going to get through this. Because if you don't get through it, then what are you going to do?
Exactly. That your mom had, from what you just described, she didn't have a whole lot of love for the United States or for the West. No. But yet she still sent you here.
Yeah, because it was literally so unsafe. And
Wow, that's deep.
I remember that the morning that I will always remember this, even though I was so young. The morning that I left, I woke up to gunshots. And my nanny was just like shuffling to just throw some stuff in the suitcase. And my mom was like, come on, you have to go, you have to go. And luckily I was an American citizen and the United States was airlifting people, airlifting their citizens out of the country. My mother wasn't a citizen and she could have went with me because she was my mother. But most people who weren't citizens, they had to find another way to get out of the country, whether if that was driving or taking a flight. But it was hard to even get a flight out of the country. And so we went to the embassy and I was basically airlifted to a bordering African country where I was taken to the United States, which was pretty much the safest place to be for me at that time, especially since the United States was offering to take me to the United States for free. You know, so yay, America. That was the second time that I had been airlifted by the United States Embassy because when I was a young baby, there was unrest and me and my mother had to be airlifted to Nigeria because of unrest in Liberia.
Damn. Wow. So, and rightfully so, sounds like you're really close to your mom. Some of her views on the United States, did you harbor some of those views as you made that transition over here?
No, because she never said anything negative. She just didn't like the lifestyle. She feels like people work too hard here. And I always tell her, I'm like, Mom, it's because you're privileged. The people who are privileged. No, seriously, because people in the United States also have maids. They also have people that drive them around, which is what we have in Liberia. And I'm like, there's people in the United States who also have that. So to them, the United States isn't stressful. But for the average person, yeah, it would be very, very, it's very, very, you have to do everything yourself here. And that's what she doesn't like. And in addition, she feels like it's too bigoted here. She likes being the majority in her country. She doesn't like being targeted as Black people in the United States are because of their race. She really doesn't like that. She actually went to college in the United States. And her father went to college here as well, but he was white passing. And I think the stories he told her about his experience kind of shaped her view of racism and white people and all that stuff, Yeah. So, yeah.
When did you get your citizenship?
Me?
Yeah.
I was born here.
Oh, see, I thought you were. I'm sorry.
I was in Liberia.
Again. Gotcha. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm thinking. All right. So you're here. Okay, I got you. When I asked where you were from, I was thinking you were born. I'm sorry.
No, I went back when I was 4 months old.
Gotcha. Okay.
I might as well have been born there, but I was born here because my mother knew. Just because, like I told you, the unrest in Liberia was going on long before I was born. She knew that there would be issues, and she wanted to make sure I had citizenship of a country that would look out for me. And the United States definitely looks out for its citizens, no matter where you are in the world.
Gotcha.
If you're a citizen, you get priority.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up. Question: What is your passion? What drives you?
What drives me and what's my passion? Those are two different things.
Both. Give me both.
Well, what drives me is Liberia. I had such an amazing childhood, and we weren't, everything. The average American would be like, "Oh my God, that's horrible," because we didn't have electricity all day, and we didn't have running water, and everything was kind of inconvenient, I guess you could say. But I just had a really good childhood, and I really love my country, and I want to make it a place where people don't have to come to the United States to get an education, and they can invest and go back and build a business and not worry that, there's going to be a war 2 years from now and then my business is going to be destroyed.
Right.
Everything I'm doing right now is, and I have to go back because I'm an only child and my mother has businesses, but everything I'm doing now is to make Liberia a better place. So I can say that's what drives me, and to make my mother proud, obviously. And then my passion is probably helping people. I see people at such dark places in their life, and I'm young, but I've been at so many dark places in my life, and I've gotten over it, and I've not only gotten over it, but I've become a better person, and the person that I want to be, I'm working towards it. And I hate to see people in such stagnant places, such stagnant, dark places, and they feel like they can't get out of that. So whether it's helping people via counseling or helping people via philanthropy, I think that's my passion, and that's what I ultimately want to do with my life.
What are some of the things that you're doing right now to help make Liberia a better place? And how can I help?
Well, it's currently in the working stages. It's probably not. Liberian elections are actually this year, at the end of the year, and we're waiting for that. But I'm currently trying to get an orphanage started. In Liberia. Liberia has a lot of motherless and fatherless children. Because people kind of just take their first opportunity to leave the country. And sometimes they can't take their children with them. They just have to leave, and that's understandable. So I want to give those children opportunity, because if they don't have education and if they don't have love, then they won't grow up to be who they were destined to be. So I kind of want to provide that for them. And I can never replace their parent, but I want to give them an environment where they can be children and they can grow up to be well-adjusted adults that are going to make the country better and that are not going to leave, because then they have this pillar of hope that Liberia isn't all bad. You know, Liberia is good. There are good Liberians. There's not such a huge disparity between the wealthy and the extremely poor, and the wealthy, which would be my family and our family, actually care about them, and we don't just want to hog all of the resources in the country while people don't even have money and don't even have food to eat. Right. And I feel like it's like this everywhere, but it's especially bad in Africa, you know, because there are no government assistance programs. So if you're poor, you're poor. There is nobody helping you find a house. There is nobody offering you vouchers for food. If you're poor, you're poor. And it's just a matter of time as to when you or your children starve to death. And I know that's very, very sad. It's very, very glum, but it's the reality. And when I get that developed, I just want people to help me spread the message so I can get, you know, awareness, so I can get sponsors, whatever it is.
Well, I'll tell you now, whatever you need me to do that can help with this, you let me know and I'll do it. I will broadcast it over the show. I'll tweet it, tell people I know. Whatever it is you need me to do, I'll put it on my website. Whatever you need me to do, I will do it, because I think it's a very beautiful thing that you're doing. And these are all like heavy things, and as I hear you talk about it, I'm proud of you, but it's because these things are so heavy, like, and at the age of 22, like, there's a part of me that doesn't want you to have to think about these things. You know what I mean?
You know, a lot of people say that, but it's not that I'm desensitized, but like, for example, if you grew up in the United States and you've never seen war and you've never seen dead bodies and you've never had to be displaced, then this stuff is really heavy for you and it really weighs heavy on your spirit. Mm-hmm. I've already had that phase.
Wow. I never thought about it like that.
So now I can talk about it without getting depressed.
So when you walk around, your general mood is what?
Monotone. And you know, this it's been an issue for me in school. It's been an issue for me at work, and I'm not going to explain my story to people, you know, as an excuse.
It plays a part though, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't. You see, I feel like I don't owe people that.
Right.
And
right. Of course.
If I want to be someone who is kind of just apathetic a little bit, I feel like if I have to do that to protect my mental health, then I will. And it's not to say that I'm rude, I'm just very, very quiet and very observant, and I'm not the first to participate in anything. And I feel like this kind of clashes with American culture, where it's like everybody is just like, hey, yeah, smile at everyone in the street, you know, which is fake because there's just so much tension in this country. And I feel like people do that kind of to glaze over it. It's like an icing on a burnt cake. But that's a story for another day.
People want you to do that, not necessarily for you. People want you for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't want, it's a very selfish thing. People don't want to, let's say a person, you're walking down the street and a person says, hey, smile, whatever, blah, 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 male or female. They don't want to feel like they're the reason that you're not smiling. And they don't like the way it makes them feel when they can't understand or read how you're feeling, which is selfish in itself and it's stupid as fuck. I am an introvert and I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I'll smile when I want to and I'll speak when I want to.
Exactly. And I do think I'm somewhat of an introvert as well. And that, you know, in addition to my life experience, I think that also plays a part because I get so tired after socializing. Like,
oh man, you get it.
Twitter. Because I can socialize in my bed or I can socialize on my balcony or socialize wherever. And I don't have to extend so much energy. And when I'm tired, I could just log.
Exactly. Social interactions drain the shit out of me. You're like, man. Okay. All right. So, I want to change gears a little bit. I want to kind of brighten it up. Not that what you were saying was just totally sad.
No, we need to brighten it up. Who's listening is like, what the?
No, I think it was very interesting to them. Like, I think this unless you've talked about it at length, I don't think these are things that people knew or even gave a thought to. You know what I mean? But let's brighten it up a little bit. So now we're going to talk about it. Now we're going to talk about, in your words.
Oh God.
Exactly. And I'm ready. Believe me, I'm ready to have this conversation.
Oh God.
Why are men trash? Let's do it. Let me put the gloves on. I'm ready.
Oh my God. No, you don't need to have any gloves on. You are a neutral party in this. You are not speaking for the men.
Okay.
Because I would never give a man the opportunity to interview me in that manner. You have to be neutral. You cannot be for them.
Right. No. I didn't mean that. I in terms of if you were about to fire shots at me is what I was.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
Got you. So let's talk
the funny thing is I'm the kind of, two of my best friends are male, and every man that has ever gotten close to me has liked me as more than a friend. And I think it's because I have such this like motherly, nurturing, caring persona to me. But I think that's something a lot of men just don't deserve, and that's something that women kind of just have innately. We have this thing about us, and I feel like men exploit that. So when I say men are trash, it's because I want women to know that no matter how good you are, men are always going to be worse. They're always going to be not as good because that's just how they are, and it's how they're socialized to be. But I think it's how they are biologically before they're even socialized, and socialization just kind of makes it worse. And when I was 15, my mom and my aunt sat me and my cousin down. My cousin lived with me when we were younger, and they sat us down. They were like, you know something, you guys are getting older. You're starting to grow into women. Men are going to start noticing you. They're going to tell you a lot of things to get you to do what they want. And we just want you guys to know one thing, and it's that men are trash, and they are all different variations of the same trash. But if you can find one that is going to be your trash and is going to be loyal to you, and that's literally how they say it. If you can find one that's going to be yours, then you can try and work with him and mold him into a better man. And that's not to say that you're going to raise a man or you're going to...
Right.
But, you know, women make men better. Whether you agree or not, it's the fact. if a man is heterosexual, having a relationship with a woman, women can be bad too. Women can be draining and all that other stuff too. But having a relationship with a woman that cares about him ultimately is going to make him better. And I think in return, she makes him better, and then he makes her better, and then it's just a cycle of making each other better, and it's a healthy relationship. And I feel like this is something women just don't experience with men, and it's because they don't make that differentiation, and they don't accept the fact that men are just not good. And that's not to say you can't fall in love with a man or you can't have male friends. You just have to know that a lot of the bad things in the world are done by men. Most of the catastrophes in the world have been orchestrated by men. And men just need a lot of guidance. And society doesn't help the way men are raised. So I think the men are trash thing has kind of just went viral. So people just say it, because it's the popular thing to say. And when I say men are trash, I don't mean like, okay, men are literal garbage. I just mean the way men are raised to interact, not only with women, but just with the world in general, it's just trash. And so we need to re-educate the adult men that are already here and they're already misogynistic and all that other stuff. We also need to raise our sons better.
Okay.
Yeah. I do it as a joke because people... That's what most people follow me for. They're like, oh my God, Miss Sandra, she hates men. She says everything I want to say about men, but I can't. And I think that's why people follow me. But honestly, I really do want to see, because I like men. I'm not heterosexual, but I do like men. And I think I would want to spend the rest of my life with a man, but I'm not going to compromise my values just to do that. And I don't believe any woman should.
I'll tell you, I've seen those tweets and I've seen those conversations. When I read them, I've not thought this is a person that hates men.
I mean, are you sure?
No, seriously, because I know one, you're incredibly bright and you're incredibly intelligent. So I can see satire, I can see jokes, I can see humor. I can see the gems and the messages that you put in that, but I've never thought that. Okay, yeah, she hates men. Like men are. I think if anything, I thought, okay, she's seen some things, or she's experienced some things that there's some men have done. But to put a sweeping global, she just hates men. No, because I think that for one, that's not an intelligent thought.
Of course.
Yeah. So
that's half the world.
Exactly.
And a lot of them, and when I do tweet, I always put a disclaimer. I'm not talking about queer men, which, because I feel like queer men can be problematic as well, but because they're queer, I feel like they have been forced to develop an empathy that Twitter calls it cishet, which is cisgender and heterosexual. Men don't have. So there are a lot of men that are kind of excluded. Queer men who respect women. A lot of men are excluded from the things I say, but I still get so many reactions because so many men are problematic. So many men take personal offense to the things I say. And that's why I feel like I have a need to continue, because women are very, very afraid to criticize men. And I'm sure you can understand why.
Of course.
So I kind of feel an obligation, because it's like, these are things every woman has gone through or is going to go through, and no one wants to talk about it because we feel like the worst thing you can do as a woman, and this is literally how we are raised, it doesn't matter where you're from, but we feel like the worst thing we can do as a woman is to upset a man and make him feel less of a man. And that's how women are raised. And that's how I was raised. And even though my mother is progressive and she's a feminist, I still had those influences. And she never taught me that I have to please a man or that I have to do anything for a man. But just growing up in society, you kind of are fed this message that women exist for men.
Well, when you get these responses where dude sees something that you said he didn't particularly agree with, his first reaction is to come at you And you know, my thought is you're either this person that she's describing or someone very close to you is.
Exactly. Which is why I don't take it to heart. I get so many insults.
But that's
crazy.
But that's also why when I look at your tweets, I don't feel like you hate all men, because I don't think I've seen something where you've described me personally. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I get that. My question to you is from what you described, and we talk about, you know, doing our part to raise our sons better, and I agree with that. I agree that the way that men are in this society, there are, you know, it can come from generations to generations of things they may not even known about, but it just sort of manifests itself down the line. But my question to you is, men today, with the rhetoric, the men are trash rhetoric, is there any hope for, in your estimation, for men today?
It depends on men. There is nothing, you know, it's kind of like racism. Black people cannot do anything about racism. All we can do is try to raise awareness and hope that white people wake up and be like, oh, this shit is wrong. Am I allowed to curse on here?
Yeah. I cursed like several times, so it's cool.
All we can do is awareness and hope that whites or anyone else who is being racist have empathy. And I think that's the only thing women can do. Especially since women, you know, things are changing, but we still don't hold a lot of the power in the world. There's not much that we can do. So all I can do is just kind of say, okay, this is the things that men do that really affects women. And, you know, a lot of men, they'll message me and they're like, believe it or not, ever since I've been following you, I've become a different man. And I've become more cautious in how I interact with women and how I treat women. And if I can get 5 of those, maybe a month, every 2 months, then it makes the 1,000 B words and H words, that's okay. But ultimately, it depends on men. And those men, I didn't have to do anything except state my opinion. And they looked at it and then they did some introspection and then they decided, yeah, the way I deal with women is harmful. But not every man is going to have that epiphany. And that's why I call that natural selection. The ones that don't have the epiphany, they'll get left behind because women were working now, we're even more educated than men now. And eventually, slowly but surely, women are not going to want to deal with misogynistic men anymore. And those men will not have an opportunity to reproduce, and they'll not have an opportunity to, you know, spread their seed, and eventually they're going to die out. This is my theory. It's not going to happen soon. But I think when you and I are gone and our grandchildren are adults, I think that's what the world will be like. I honestly think so.
Natural selection will weed them out. It's not a far-fetched theory. I don't find fault with it at all, because I think we're already at a point where women are tired of dealing with misogynistic men, and a lot of it has to do with the awareness. It's like when you see something as simple as if somebody asks, who is the best athlete today? And let's say I say Serena Williams. Then you have some dude there to say, oh, that's the best female athlete. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that's and you probably didn't even realize it. A lot of dudes probably don't realize that's a misogynistic viewpoint, because is Serena Williams not an athlete? She is, and she's a damn good athlete, and she shouldn't have to be put in simply the woman category. Because if I would have said Michael Jordan, it wouldn't have been, well, that's the best male athlete.
See, I have to disagree with you a little bit there.
Okay.
Because I think representation at this point in time, probably, you know, maybe 50, 60 years from now, it won't be necessary. But at this point in time, it is. Because how many Serena Williams are there?
Well, I don't mean to take away from her representation.
No. When I say representation, I mean like it's important to say she's a female.
Okay.
As of now, it's important to say she's a female because her womanhood is shaped a lot. And it's important for people to know that, yes, this is a female athlete and she's achieving all of these things. And I don't think it takes away from her at all. I think it just lets people know that women can do everything that men can do.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think as of now, with the climate of gender and sexism, as of now, it's so important to say, yes, this is a female, whatever it is, female singer, female athlete. I think it's still important to make that distinction as of now. As we progress and we get more, as we progress and there's more equality in society, I feel like eventually we can drop that female, as more females start to do more things because of opportunity, we can drop that label. But as of now, I think it's necessary to make that distinction that someone is a female, blah, 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 because females, opportunity is still very, very, very fresh for us. And it's only fresh in the West. There are places where women are still not allowed to do simple things like drive.
Wow.
So, it's easy to kind of get caught up, and I'm not going to say Western women are lucky, but the opportunity that is represented here is not, that's not the whole world. The world is nowhere near caught up with America or Europe or wherever else. And that's sad because America still has a long way to go.
So what do you want to see? Do you want to see a level playing field? Do you want to see women become superior to men? Like, what do you want to see?
I think women are better equipped to lead than men.
Okay.
I think the only advantage men have is physical strength. And that's only if a woman, because I feel like if a woman conditions her body, she can be just as strong as a man. But I think women are better equipped to lead only because of the biological differences in the way that we think. And that's not to take away from men or say men are unintelligent. No, men are not unintelligent. There are some very intelligent men in the world, but I think we have tried to give men a chance to lead the world, and men have not done such a good job. And that's because they lack certain things in the way that they think.
Such as?
Empathy. The ability to multitask as good as women. I feel like men just kind of zone in on one thing and then they kind of focus on it, and that's all they can focus on. And I think when it comes to leadership, you have to be able to do a lot of things at once, and you have to be able to relate to a lot of people. And especially white men, they are not good at relating.
So what do you want to see the role of the men play in society then?
They can still hold the same positions that they've held historically. They can still be political leaders, doctors, teachers, whatever else. But I feel like when it comes to executive positions of power, I feel like we need to give women the opportunity to hold those positions and see what changes in the world. And not just one woman here and there, but women.
Because of a lack of representation, or because you think women are better suited for it?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Of course, maybe I'm biased. I'm biased as a woman.
That's fine. No, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, I just feel like women need a chance now, and not a half-assed affirmative action chance, but give us the reins and let's see how we work it out.
So you would have liked to have seen
Hillary over Donald? Of course.
Well, of course. Right. I mean, I wasn't even really thinking about Donald Trump. I was thinking about Bernie Sanders. You would have liked to have seen Hillary over Bernie.
Probably.
Probably. No, wait a minute now, because we got to give women the chance, and women are better.
No. I said probably because although I do, Bernie's, there's a lot of, his beliefs kind of align a bit more with mine, but I feel like Hillary was better equipped for the job than Bernie, than Donald. I just feel like she was the most qualified candidate. Yeah. And, a lot of people take issue with her because of a lot of really petty things that I feel like if she was a man, it just really would not have been that serious. But I take issue with her for several things. Hillary's a politician, and ultimately, there are good politicians, but a politician is a politician, and they're a figurehead, and they're there to keep the people calm as everything goes on behind the scenes. So she's a politician, and she wouldn't have been different than any other American politician. She would have been better than most of the politicians that America has had. So I just didn't get the outrage, and I felt like a lot of that was based in misogyny.
Got you.
A lot of it was based in misogyny because it just, like, I just didn't, and I was barely with her. Like a lot of Black women on Twitter would say, I'm barely with her. I was barely with her, but at the same time, like, Donald Trump, that's how you know America hates women, please.
Anything would have been better than Donald Trump. I'm telling you. Like, and it was mostly women that voted for him.
You see, that's another problem. And women play such a huge part in the continuation of misogyny.
How do you reconcile that? Based on what you just told me and everything about how women are better equipped to lead, how do you reconcile 68% of women voted, white women voted for Donald Trump?
Because Black women, make that distinction. I know that they've been brainwashed, and I use this term a lot, and I use it very liberally because it's brainwashing. When from birth you're told that you are inferior to men, and that you kind of serve as a backbone for men, which means that you're not a standalone person, but you're just there to prop someone up. Mm-hmm. You internalize that. And culture, religion, all of these things affect how women feel about themselves. And, for a long time, I was so angry at women that were misogynistic. I was so angry because I was like, how can you not see this is bad for you? This is bad for us. But at one point, I was a misogynistic woman.
Really?
And of course, I wasn't so bad that I would vote for someone like Donald Trump. But I was young, I was ignorant, and I kind of felt like women just weren't as good as men, and women were just catty, and all these things that society tells you about women. I believed it. And I think that's the situation with a lot of women, and they just don't have, if it wasn't for social media, I would still believe it. If it wasn't for social media and a women's studies class I took in college, I would still probably believe it. So it's about education, it's about exposure, and I think that's something a lot of women just don't have, and I can't fault them for being ignorant when they aren't exposed to better, and especially when they aren't exposed to better in an empathetic way. I feel like a lot of enlightened people have a tendency to be condescending, mm-hmm. and that's not how you teach people. No matter how dumb you think they are, you kind of have to be empathetic and put yourself in their shoes, because at one point, no one is born educated. Yep, at one point, you didn't know anything until people taught you something. And I'm pretty sure the people that taught you took their time with you, because no one learns things overnight, especially as an adult when you've already formed your opinion and your standpoint on, critical things. It takes time to realize that the way you thought was wrong. So I think a lot of people who consider themselves to be teachers and enlightened and conscious need to put more effort, and that includes me, of course. And I don't even consider myself to be a teacher or enlightened. I just think there's certain things I've realized and certain things I want other women to realize. I think you need to take time to maybe explain things to people better. And sometimes you can't, because sometimes ignorant people are very abrasive. So sometimes you have to be like, hey, fuck off. But very good for it. I mean, like if you follow him on social media, you know I'm good for that.
Yeah.
But I think if someone generally is confused and they don't know and they're just trying to find out what is what, just take the time to have a teaching moment if you don't mind. And that's it.
What's the most positive thing you've learned from a male that wasn't your family member?
Oh my God. My father, he's actually my
that wasn't your family. That wasn't your family member.
What's my family member? Shit,
Yeah.
nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. Oh no. My best friend is ill. And we've been best friends since January 2012, and I was a freshman in college and he was a grad student, and we had a class together. And we met and we kind of just became friends, and he's just been critical in my development into a woman, from a girl to a woman. He's just kind of taught me that there's nothing I can't do, and I'm a brilliant, good person, and I shouldn't let this world and what I've experienced dim my light. And he tells me that all the time. And that it really keeps me going, because there's just been so many things that have happened to me over the past 5-6 years. And those words from him have kind of kept me pushing in times where I would have otherwise given up. My very, very best friend. I can't say this in public, because then I feel like they're going to be like, what? She has a male best friend? Yeah, I have a male. And he's basically the closest person to me outside of my family. So yeah, that's what I've learned from a man that is not related to me.
That's all right. That is really cool. That is really cool. Couple more things I want to talk to you about. I see you talk about this a lot, so I want to get the real scoop on Maca Roots.
Oh, Maca Root?
Yeah. What is its intended purpose, first of all?
It's literally it's an energy supplement. It's a well-being supplement. Women use it traditionally for fertility, if you're having some issues getting pregnant. Women and men can use it just to boost their fertility. I personally use it for energy, and it also redistributes your fat.
How about that?
Like it'll take the fat. It won't literally, but your midsection will get a little leaner, and your lower body or your breasts will get a little more fuller. And I have noticed those changes. And then also it boosts your, how do you pronounce this word? Libido?
Yeah, that's it, libido.
You know, people always make fun of me because like there are certain words that I say that I still say it in my accent, and Americans are like, it's not biography, it's biography. And I'm like, okay, sorry. I'm a foreigner. I know I've mastered the American accent pretty well, I think, but there's certain things I still can pronounce. Anyway, so yeah, it works for energy, it works for fertility, it works for your libido, it works for your body. If you work out a lot, taking maca is good because it helps you tone and bulk better. So that's what I take it for.
What's the best way to consume it?
I take it in pills because I feel like the powder is disgusting. Like I can't eat disgusting things. When I was a child, I couldn't take cough syrup because I would vomit it out. So I take it in the pill form, but apparently the powder form absorbs faster. So it really just depends on personal preference. It's available in pill, powder, capsule. It just depends on what you want to do.
So if I had the powder, it'd be best for me to put it like in a smoothie?
In a smoothie. Yes, a protein smoothie right before you go work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. The next thing that I hear you talk about a lot about is you're really, really big on skincare.
Skincare, yes.
Yeah, it's evident because you have beautiful skin. So tell us a little something about what do you want people to know? Like what's something that people, when it comes to skincare, that they feel that you think that people are overlooking, or that it's a little too hard to do, but it really isn't. A nugget or a gem on skincare. What helps make your skin so beautiful?
You have to start from within. Like, my skin was bad up until I decided, okay, I'm gonna stop eating like shit. I'm gonna stop not drinking water, and then exercise. I do a lot of things to my skin topically, but I drink about 75 to 80 ounces of water per day. I have a green smoothie every day, and I work out 5 days a week. And I feel like this has been pivotal. Like, I feel like if I don't do this, everything I'm putting on my skin is a waste of money, because my skin is not regenerating properly. The toxins are not being flushed properly. So then that's going to present itself in the form of pimples and discoloration and dry patches. So people really need to take, like, your skin, your hair. If you want to be beautiful, it starts from within. And not only what you consume, but how you treat your body, how active you are, and then also how happy you are. I notice when I'm happier, my skin has a glow to it. It has a radiance that it doesn't have when I'm perhaps a little depressed or a little, under the weather. My skin gets kind of washed out. So I think you need to pay attention to your energy and how you're treating your body internally. That's the first step. And then second, you need to be consistent with whatever it is that you're doing topically. Everyone has a different skin type. So what works for me, I tell people this all the time when they ask me for skincare advice. What I do definitely may not work for you. But whatever works for you, when you find it, you have to be consistent and do it day and night, evening and morning, whatever it is, for the rest of your life. And this includes Black women, because I feel like we don't age, and we definitely don't age compared to white women, but we definitely need to be conscious, of what we do skincare wise as well, and be consistent with it, and don't drink so much, and stop smoking cigarettes. And I feel like I'm preaching, so usually I just recommend products and I go ahead and keep moving, but I feel like health has been the number one. And it's sad because I had to start fainting at work for me to decide, okay, I'm not healthy. Wow. And getting healthy just so I wouldn't faint is when I kind of saw, oh my God, my skin looks amazing. So this is the magic wand. And that's pretty much what happened.
I think the most important thing from that is that it starts within. You know what I mean? So many people look for, well, I can just put this on my skin, or I can just do this.
There is no medical treatment or miracle product that could give you perfect skin. There is nothing. I tell people, I'm like, there's nothing I've tried. I've spent, since I started getting into skincare, it's been about maybe 4 or 5 years, I've spent at least, and I'm not even kidding with you, I've spent at least $12,000 on products and procedures. Yeah, because when I was in college, I would get an allowance from my parents, and that was just money that I could just spend. I didn't have bills or anything, so I would just buy a whole bunch of products, buy a whole bunch of shit. And I've spent at least $12,000 in skincare, and my skin was horrible up until last year when I started taking my health seriously. So I can tell you for sure, there's no miracle product.
Wow. Last thing before we go, I give people this opportunity every episode. Is there anything you want to ask me? Because I know I've been asking all the questions so far. Anything you want to ask me?
I have to make this a good one.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Okay, what's up? Shoot.
First one is, what is the process by which you choose people for this show? Because it seems like it's not anyone can kind of get chosen for this show. It's people who you see kind of maybe see something in. What is the process for choosing people for this show? That's the first question. Wait. Let me ask the second one. And then
Okay.
And then why did you choose me?
I got you. All right. So the show is for any and everybody. Because the reason why I started the show is because I believe that everybody has a story, and everybody does have a story. Now, what I do have is a certain order that I may release the shows in, and here's why. given the medium that I primarily promote my show, I could put a great show out with anybody. And I'm glad you asked me this because sometimes people feel slighted, and it's not the case. I want people to hear your story. But let's say I have someone on the show who, and I hate using this term, but I'll just use it just because I can't think of anything else. Let's say I have someone on the show who has a very, very great story, who's not as popular. People may not tune into it. But if I proceed that with someone who may have a huge following, and then I promote within that the next show where someone else, they're more likely to come back because they've heard it on this episode that they've really, really been looking for, type thing. So there's a variety of things. I may be tweeting and I may see someone say something very interesting, and I may want to expound on that. Someone may reach out to me and say, hey, like in your case, hey, you should interview this person or see if they want to do it. Or they'll come to my website and they'll fill out the short form to suggest why they might be good or why someone else may be good. I've gotten to a point with the show now, and I'm blessed in this aspect, that I don't really have to do as much going out and asking, because people are bringing it to me.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. From time to time, I'll send out a tweet and I'll say, hey, who would you like to see interviewed? I hadn't done that in a while, so I'll probably do that pretty soon. Who would you like to see interviewed? And they'll tell me, and I'll reach out to them. Most people say yeah, they'll do it. Most people are flattered by it, which is really cool. I'm really shocked when someone wants to do the show. I don't know why, but I'm like, wow, you really want to do it? Like, that's cool. All right, let's do it. And then there are others where, they are, and it's not as many of them, but they may be either a little skeptical and eventually they come around, or some just don't respond. And so I just take those that don't respond as enough, because for me, maybe I could get them if I pursued them more, but I'm just not really finna chase anybody. Like, you got the email, you got the DM, you seen me I don't think I need to do more than that, really. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. No hard feelings. But I tell you this, I have such a belief in what I do that if a person doesn't want to do the show now, at some point they will, and they're going to come to me for it. That's the confidence that I have in it. I feel like some people that don't want to do it think that it's a quote unquote Twitter thing, but when you start seeing it in other places, not Twitter, like my show is on iHeartRadio now. So that's really cool. Nice. Then it's like, oh, I've heard about this. You know what I mean? Now you'll probably want to do it. Why did I choose you? Well, primarily because there's a lot of people that wanted to hear from you, but more than just that, I've always been taken by the way you see the world and the way you comment on things, and how unforgiving you are with your opinions. And in today's society, like how you said earlier, there are not a lot of women. There are more women doing that now, but it's impressive, and I can appreciate that. And I want other people to see you the way that I see you in your tweets. I want to find out the deeper story behind why you feel this way. Like, a person may look at your tweets and say, oh, okay, she hates men, and that's that. Whereas for me, I don't necessarily see that. And I want other people to see more than just that also. I wanted to give you a platform to do that if you were interested. And I find you to be a very interesting person.
Thank you. I think I'm really boring, so when people say that, it's funny.
I told you, everybody comes on the show thinks that they're boring. Everybody does. But the download show otherwise. So
okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity And I hope everyone I know a lot of my followers are going to listen to this. I hope you get to know me a little better and kind of don't judge me as much. And kind of understand why I have some of the opinions I have. And thanks again. And that's pretty much it.
Do you
I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Do you have anything that you're promoting or anywhere you want people to find you or anything, Instagram, Snapchats, anything like that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this, it's off my Twitter. But if you're not, Corey is going to link my @name in the description of this podcast, which is pretty much my username for all social media. Liberian.
Okay.
@Liberian. That's pretty much it. I'm not promoting anything yet. I'll be promoting something soon, but it's not quite ready to be rolled out yet. So just keep an eye on my social media, and eventually I will reveal what I've been working on for over a year, and I hope you guys support it.
I wanna help you with that. So will you come back on the show when you're ready to promote that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, cool. What I'll probably do then is I might let you host the episode with me if you.
Oh,
if
Lord.
Yeah.
Get someone who likes me, please.
Oh man, that's part of the fun right there. Like. All right, good people. It's been another episode. You can find me on Twitter, of course, @TheRealShitty, @OTAP Show. You can find the show on iTunes. You can find the show on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and Google Play Music. Pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find me there. Check out the website, otapshow.com. There's some new content coming on the website. A couple blogs. I've been traveling, so I'm putting that on there also. If you want to be on the show, or if you know someone, or you feel like someone would be a good fit for the show, check out the website. Fill out the short form, and I'll get it and let me know. For Liberian, I'm Corey, and this has been another episode of the OTAP Show. Peace.
I'd like to thank our guests for coming on today. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, send an email to otap@writeme.com. Follow the conversation on Twitter by searching the hashtag OTAP, that's OTAP, or following us on Twitter @OTAP Show. You can find the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Android users can listen to the podcast on Podcast Republic. Just download the app and search OTAP Show. On behalf of our guest, I'm your host, Corey, and I'll see you back here next week on the Air Podcast, starring you.